For the first time since 2017, Washington is 500 or above through 6 weeks. They just got a huge 24-16 win over the Falcons in Atlanta, and this was much needed. They had just lost 3 in a row and finally back in the win column, and it was an incredible game. I was stressing the whole way through, but finally got to see a win for the first time in 4 weeks. Washington got off to a solid start offensively. To me, it's always good when you're able to get points on your opening drive. It wasn't a touchdown, it was just a field goal, but still, this is a team that sometimes has issues getting the ball down the field, so getting a nice field goal there, you started to feel okay, and then it all kind of went bad. There were a lot of lingering questions of whether or not the defense was going to wake up after how bad the Bears' loss was. Remember, the Bears crushed them. They were moving the ball however, whenever they wanted, and you needed to see something different from the Commanders' defense, and the Falcons scored pretty much immediately. They converted on 2 third downs, both of which were 3rd and 8, so not easy third downs either, and eventually Desmond Ridder hit Kyle Pitts for a touchdown, I believe his first of the year. It was ugly, man. The Falcons' drive was bad. You started to feel like the defense was in the exact same spot from last week, and Washington couldn't stop anything over the middle of the field. And I will say, Cody Barton, man, he is so hard to watch sometimes. I get it. Cole Holcomb maybe wasn't the answer at linebacker, but Barton has been a huge disappointment. That is a swing and a miss signing for this team. This team's linebackers, just in general, I mean, they're terrible. I will say I think Khaleke Hudson needs some more play time. He actually made a couple big plays. And Jamin Davis, you know, he played solid. We're going to get back to him. I'm usually a Jamin Davis hater. I think they missed on that first rounder, but he had a huge play that we'll get back to. A big complaint before this week was really just the lack of targets that Terry McLaurin has been seeing. And I don't know, maybe Eric Bieniemy heard those complaints because they just tried to freaking force feed Terry McLaurin in this one. He was targeted 6 times in the first quarter, just the first quarter. He ended up finishing with 11 targets. He caught 6 of them for 81 yards. This is a guy that is elite and needs to be a big focal point on the offense. If you're not targeting him regularly, I don't know what you're doing. Now, obviously, Washington won, and I think that started to turn in their favor on the Falcons' second drive. It's 7-3 at this point, and it's just a quick 3 and out. The Washington defense, they're able to get a little bit of confidence with a nice stop, and they have to punt it away, and then Jamison Crowder, he returns the punt 61 yards to the Atlanta 11. He got pretty close to scoring there too. And man, this is a guy that was on the practice squad earlier in the season. I love seeing Jamison Crowder succeed. He was drafted by the Redskins in 2015 out of Duke. He's an ACC guy. He had some good seasons in Washington, 2 with about 800 yards, and he had a good season with the Jets too. He's a guy that I really enjoy rooting for, a guy that I love seeing back in Washington, and really all of his punt returns were really good on Sunday. The Commanders were able to take that nice return, and it only took 3 plays for Sam Howell to hit Antonio Gibson for a touchdown to go up 10-7. Next drive, Falcons tried to get something going. They actually got up to the Washington 48, decided to go for it on 4th and 3, and they didn't get it. Cameron Curl broke up a Bijan Robinson pass. So again, all of a sudden, Washington has good field possession. Washington did end up facing a 4th and 1 on the Atlanta 43, and this is what I loved. Sam Howell actually kept the read option. We see this play so many times. The Commanders love to run it, and every single time it goes to the running back. Finally, this time, he keeps it, gets the easy first, and I love this even more. He slides. He slides down. He doesn't take another unnecessary hit. It's just a smart veteran play. I love it. Commanders end up driving down the field. An 18-yard McLaurin catch helps, and then next play, 7-yard touchdown to Curtis Samuel, who's actually been pretty good this season. Remember, he was a big signing a few years ago and just never turned into anything. I really thought Jahan Dotson was going to take over that number 2 role, but instead it's been Curtis Samuel. He's played well. He had 42 yards in the game. Now, Atlanta did respond with a drive that ended in a 47-yard Younghoe Koo field goal. Atlanta picked up 11 yards on 3rd and 24 after an intentional grounding call. So Washington really probably could have avoided them picking up some points there, but didn't. Commanders got the ball back with a chance to drive, and this was gross, man. This is maybe the worst drive I've seen all year for any team, even in college, man. Howell takes back-to-back sacks to start the drive, and just immediately Atlanta has the ball back on their own 44 with 58 seconds left. The sacks are a problem. I don't know how many times I have to say it. The sacks are an issue, and if I remember correctly, both of those sacks were on Sam Howell. He's holding the ball too long. He doesn't know what he's doing. At some point, he's got to fix it. It's incredibly frustrating week in and out. Luckily, though, Washington got a huge defensive hold and ended up going into the half with the lead. Now, let me put this lightly. Desmond Ridder's not good. If Taylor Heineke plays this game, they might win. Honestly, I was hoping that maybe Ridder would get benched ahead of this game just so we could see Taylor Heineke. Desmond Ridder, he just baffles me sometimes. Some of the decisions he makes are awful. He can't go past his first read. If that first read isn't open, he is either going to throw it away, take a sack, or what he does most of the time, he'll throw it anyway. And that's one of his problems. How he got drafted before Sam Howell is an absolute mystery to me. Ridder ended up with 3 interceptions. All of them were in the second half. That's not particularly ideal. First drive out of the break, and Kendall Fuller, he just jumps the route and gets a huge turnover. Shout out Kendall Fuller, Hokies in the NFL. And then all of a sudden, it only took 2 plays for the Commanders to score. Howell threw a little dump off to Brian Robinson. He puts his head down, runs like he's mad at the ground. He's just like Isaiah Pacheco. They both just angry run, goes 24 yards and scores. He had a good day. He had more of a quiet day. He had just 31 yards on the ground, but did have 25 receiving, 24 on that play. Surprisingly, we saw a little bit of Chris Rodriguez get some snaps. He was a 6th rounder out of Kentucky. Haven't seen much of him so far, but saw a little bit on Sunday, and maybe he'll keep getting some more snaps there. Both teams punted back and forth, and Atlanta got a little something going and made it a game. They got a big 4th and 4 conversion on the drive. Very ballsy move by Arthur Smith. I liked it a lot. They went 81 yards in just less than 7 minutes and capped it off with a Jonnu Smith 2-yard touchdown. This is where I'm a little perplexed, and I still am. I've been thinking about this it's Monday now that I'm recording this, and I've been thinking about it all day. Why on earth did Arthur Smith go for 2? Instead of just making it a 7-point game, they went for 2, and they didn't get it. It's one of the silliest, weirdest coaching decisions I've seen this season, and they were down 8. They ended up losing 24-16 instead of 24-17 because he didn't just kick the extra point. I don't know what he was doing. I'm still trying to figure it out. Arthur Smith just confuses me sometimes. Now, the Falcons really did have a chance to win this one. Washington's offense did absolutely nothing for the rest of the game, and it could have really cost them. This team needs to figure out how to close. Luckily, the Falcons' last 3 drives of the game were fucking disasters. Atlanta went 82 yards, and then Ridder threw a just disgusting interception to Benjamin St-Juste. I have no idea what he saw here. It's a rush snap, and he just throws that bitch up. It is absolutely terrible. It's one of the worst plays I've seen this season, and it's just one of those Desmond Ridder things, man. What is he thinking over there? Atlanta did end up getting the ball back, and immediately they turned it over on downs. But they got one more chance with 2 minutes left. Atlanta got something going. All of a sudden, they're up at the Washington 34 with 31 seconds remaining, and they're only down 8. And guess what? Desmond Ridder interception. Jamin Davis called game. He just beats the receiver off the slant, picks it off, and that's all she wrote. Washington 24-16. They're 500. They're 2 games ahead of the Patriots. What is going on here? And I gotta say, one of my lasting really thoughts from this game is just Ridder's bad, man. He is not the guy, and I think Sam Howell could be. You know, he didn't have to throw the ball much, and really, he didn't play too well. He only completed 14 of 23 passes, but again, didn't have to throw much. Washington really did luck out with a lot of good field position, and when they didn't have the good field position, they didn't move the ball too well. He had 151 yards and 3 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns on 14 passes is just banana land. This really is just such a huge win for the Commanders to put yourself at 500. I'm not expecting much from this team. They're not as good as the Cowboys. They're not as good as the Eagles. That's just the reality. But if you want to try to sneak into the playoffs, you want to try to get on a run, you can't be 1-5. You got to be 3-3, 4-2. You got to give yourself a shot. And I think they've done that. Washington gets the Giants on Sunday. Obviously, the Giants just looked pretty good against the Bills, so we're gonna have to see if they can kind of keep up some of the momentum. But on paper, I think the Commanders are the better team. Daniel Jones might not even play again, so we're gonna have to wait and see if it's Tyrod Taylor or not. But really, that's just a winnable game. But for now, you get a nice victory week. Celebrate the win. Washington 3-3. I'm just happy that they were able to get a win. I was able to get one of my perfect weeks, which never really happened, and that's where Virginia Tech and the Commanders win. Very, very rare and incredibly rare. It's unfortunate, but we got one this weekend, so I'm going to take my victory lap this week. Huge Commanders win, and you got an easy one coming up. Just don't screw it up. Beat the Giants. Winning record through 7 weeks would be crazy. Fingers crossed.